my son came home with a drawing and showed me this strange-looking woman flying around. I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." And I thought, that's beautiful. I immediately wrote a song about it.
Hello everyone, welcome to our 2021 Brass Conversation. My name is Liz Clayton. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Bluecoats, and I'm the moderator of tonight's discussion. Hopefully you know by now that we've announced our 2021 show, Lucy. It's been a very long intermission and we can't wait to get back on the field in about a month. Every Wednesday before we move into Indiana Wesleyan University, we're going to host a live stream with members of our design and educational teams. Make sure you tune in live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time to catch these conversations. Tonight, I'm joined by Doug Thrower, Bluecoats' composer and brass designer, Genevieve Geisler, our CFO COO, and Bob Cresty and Rick Brown, two members of our brass educational team. I'll let everyone say hello quickly, and then we'll dive into some questions. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please post them in the comments and we'll answer them as we go. So let's get started with Doug, if you just want to say hello quickly.
Hey guys, happy to be here. Looking forward to your questions.
Awesome. And Genevieve?
Hi everybody. I'm excited to see you all here and do this for the first time.
Perfect. Bob?
Hey everyone.
And Rick?
Hello all.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Again, if anybody listening has any questions as we go, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to start by just going over our set list. If you haven't seen the set list for the 2021 show, you can find it at bluecoats.com/Lucy. You'll also find some merch you can pre-order there and some other exciting details about the summer. So just to go over the set list for anybody who hasn't had a chance to look on the website yet, we have The End, With a Little Help from My Friends, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I Am the Walrus, Tomorrow Never Knows, Being for the benefit of Mr. Kite, Golden Slumbers, and Carry That Weight. So with that being said, we did this last week with with Doug and our other music designers, but I'm wondering if you can each share just one or two songs that you're most excited about having on the 2021 set list. Doug, do you want to start since you did this last week?
Sure. I think for me, I'm most excited about Tomorrow Never Knows because we're going to try a couple effects, a couple gags in that one that we've been talking about for a few years. And I'm excited to experiment with that one a little bit. It's one of my favorite Beatles tunes, and it's very different for the drum corps activity because it's essentially just over one chord, which is different. I'm also kind of excited about the beginning of Lucy because there's a programmatic moment that I kind of built upon the idea that we're on water. Picture yourself on a boat on a river. So I kind of wrote this thing with ripples moving away from the boat and kind of in my head. So it's not really Beatles music at that point. It's more programmatic and kind of based on the lyrics. So I'm excited to hear that live. I'm excited to hear all of it live. I'm excited to hear anything live. A hip injury would sound great to me now if it were live instead of over a Zoom call.
Awesome. Bob, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking most forward to Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, more so because it just brings back positive memories of sitting outside the Bellagio in Vegas and watching the fountain show to Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Rick, do you have one or two that you're excited about?
So I told Doug this in 18 or 19 when we did the Beatles, but I didn't really grow up listening to the Beatles, so everything's like new to me. So I'll probably have to go with a little help from my friends, just because I grew up with the Wonder Years, and I know that's not their version, but still, that's the one I know the most, so I'll go with that one.
How about you, Jen? Do you have anything?
Yeah, definitely Golden Slumbers and Carry That Weight. I grew up listening to Abbey Road as one of my favorites, like in high school, into classic rock and all that, in the 90s, So I grew up listening to that on my parents' old record collection, and I just love the second side of Abbey Road, and so it's got a nostalgic quality to me, and I'm really excited to hear the Bluecoats bring to the field. So
That's awesome. We have a question here already from Kara. What do you think the hardest song will be for the brass to learn?
I'm having taught some of the stuff so far, and we have a lot of multiple tonguing stuff early in the show, and some really cool effects that Doug has written that I'm really anxious to see how it all is going to work. But not in my opinion, it's really cool, and I think it's gonna be really neat trying to line up. And obviously, it's a lot of multiple tonguing, so that'll be a lot of work.
I think a lot too with the Bluecoats in general. We play so many variant styles of music in the same show that everybody focuses more on the technical side, but really, going from playing this beautiful ballad to playing multiple tongue, like Bob said, to all these other things. I think that's what makes us, uniquely special in the activity. And, everything from having tubas playing pedals to trumpets playing, all these super high notes. It's just, everything you expect to see from the Bluecoats is what we're going to be, so.
That's awesome. So Bluecoats has hosted a monthly camp in the cloud starting in March. So I wonder how they've been going, and are there any challenges doing these camps online?
The challenge is not being able to respond because you can't hear the line. It has allowed us the opportunity to talk a little bit more and dig into the hows and whys of our technique program. It's just we're not able to evaluate it in a live basis. We do a lot of show and tell where individuals will play in front of the entire line when we do full brass stuff, or in sectionals, and get one-on-one time with the sectional instructors. But I definitely miss the instant feedback side of things, where we as a staff can hear what's going on, give them the information the students need so that we can immediately fix things. And so that's going to be, we're trying to do as much as we can via Zoom. And, as soon as we get together on July 1st, it's going to be like, all right, let's go. But it'll be nice because we don't have to teach any exercises. All that is done. It's just like set up the circle and let's go. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, just in general, like we had camp this past weekend. We're doing a lot of individualized things, almost like private lessons in these camps. So it gives us an opportunity to really know the musicians that are in the line, what their challenges may be, as well as what they're great at. And that's been especially pleasing for me. I've been in and out since we started doing the camps, but it's just been great to be around the Bluecoats again. And we're doing the small things that you would expect from camps too, like Bob was saying, including having our members learn how to stand up correctly and just how to be the Bluecoats. That was my thing with the trumpets this weekend. It's time to start being the Bluecoats now, even though we're not in person. And they're stepping up to the plate. We're gonna have a great drum corps this year.
Yeah, it's like Rick said, just making sure all the basic rehearsal protocols, everything, so we can just jump in together. And then between camps, we also do assignments, both visual assignments, individual playing assignments. We use something called Muse class to do all of that. And then some of the sections also, they like to do 48-hour challenges between the members, where it's just like somebody's going to throw something up real quick and the rest of the section kind of does it, just to keep motivating one another and get everyone ready. So when we get together, we'll be ready to kick some butt.
From an administrative standpoint, it's been the opposite experience as far as getting to know the students. We have very little one-on-one time with anyone. Normally at the camps with the contracting process and everyone, I would get to meet each student individually. So I really miss that, and I'm looking forward to that when we get started in July in person. But one thing that I think has been actually a bonus from an administrative standpoint or from a whole group standpoint, not with the teaching part of it, but we've been able to bring some different types of information and experiences to the students that we really wouldn't normally do at the in-person camps. We're able to have a live look-in at one of our design meetings that we had a few weeks ago, and actually have the students be able to interact with the designers and ask them questions individually, either about the show or their real job or their process or anything about the the Bluecoats experience itself. So I thought that was pretty neat for them to be able to interact and get individual answers from the people that create our shows. And then we've also been able to bring presentations and information to the students from our Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Council about implicit bias and other, things affecting racism and discrimination, things that we're going to be doing some stuff with consent at one of our next camps. So I think it's been a good way to sort of spend more time diving into those topics than we would if we had to be in person in classrooms, bringing people from the airport, stuff like that. So, I mean, it's clearly not ideal, but it does have some upsides.
That's awesome. Going along with that a little bit, the audition process was also completely online too, which generally doesn't happen. We have people coming in from all over to do these auditions. So how were online auditions?
I'll leave this one to you, Rick, because I didn't do any. That's not
Oh,
my role.
that's mine.
Yeah, we've had many auditions. Usually we average, a couple of hundred auditions each year, and it's been the same this year. We've had a lot of students express interest in the Bluecoats. We've had a large group of talent to choose from, but it's been great. The students are well prepared as usual. One thing I'm seeing too, we have a lot of younger people that are auditioning for the Bluecoats, which is great for us because when you're being able to, pick, 18, 19-year-old talent that can march in the Corps for 2 or 3 years, that's going to make us better in the long run. So, and that's been a focus of this year is being able to, find these students that we can train up and teach them how to, move forward. And it's been great. So the talent levels, we're the same as what we normally see.
One thing that's been neat to me about it is just seeing where the people are from that are trying out. It's a little bit different than I think normally. Normally you can fly to a camp and try out, and we have them in 4 locations. But even still, I see, kids from a little bit more of a diverse range of places because they don't have to actually fly to get to us to audition. A couple kids from South Dakota, several people from different countries, and all points, from the middle all the way to the coast of the United States. So I think it's made it easier for everyone to have a chance to audition if they want to take a shot at it. So I think that, and get feedback, whether they make it or not, I think that's been a pretty neat part of it as well.
Awesome. And for any of you listening who are thinking that you might still want to march, we do still have spots open in every section of the brass. So if you email join@bluecoats.com with your name and your marching experience, they will follow up there with you about more information about the audition process, how to send in a video, and all those types of things. So, yep, we do still have spots open in each brass section, and we'd love for you to join our 2021 Drum Corps. We'll go around everybody for this one, but is there a moment that you're most excited about when coming back to in-person Drum Corps after such a long intermission as we keep talking about? We'll start with Rick this time.
Just being around the staff. We've had an opportunity to really get to know our students and talking to them, hearing them play, all that's great. But there's staff members I haven't talked to or seen, and and going on 2 years now. And here at the Bluecoats, we have a really, really tight knit crew. We all actually like each other, and I've been other places and it's not been that way. So just the opportunity to get to see my friends again and be able to make great music and great art together. Performing Doug's book is always great. So it's going to be great to just see friends again that I haven't seen in years.
Bob, do you have something you're the most excited about?
Yeah, I just can't wait to hear the sound again. Like I just miss it. I mean, like here in Texas, I mean, we had marching band and there's some good ones and stuff like that, but it's just different standing in front of the Bluecoats brass line. And I just miss that because it's been a long time. And last time I got to do it was August, whatever of 2019. And we're pretty real good. And it's a lot of fun being in the middle of that circle. And I just miss that feeling and that sound. And I can't wait to be back.
Doug, do you have something?
Well, both of those things. Obviously, I'm super excited to see all my best friends. And Rick's right. It's a tight group that takes care of each other. And I miss that. It's been since last March that I've seen Jen and the other designers. It's been since August since I've seen Rick and Bob. I don't think you guys were in the January camp. And then I'm looking forward to being around the kids and their energy and the audience. You know, I'm looking forward to, presenting our work, all of our work, the entire group's work to a live audience again. I mean, that was such a charge in 2019. You know, it always has been, but 2019 was pretty special. And I'm just looking forward to all of that.
Genevieve?
Yeah, I guess everyone pretty much said it all. I miss everyone I haven't seen. I have had a chance to see the administrative and now more recently the design teams, except for Doug, who's trapped in Canada, quite a bit. I mean, I've seen every Doug at least once a year, more like 10 times a year, every year for the last 20 years. So it's pretty strange. But I miss seeing everybody. Like these guys said, all of my best friends, I definitely miss that. But just the experience of being around people that are just striving to do something interesting, and work together to achieve a goal. I mean, just not something that any of us, I think, have been around, especially those of us who don't work with marching bands, in the non-drum corps season. Bluecoats is all I do. It's my full-time job. So I don't have the opportunity to interact with, students or people working together for some type of creative goal outside of this. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
And, a lot of it's, sorry, Liz, a lot of it's like the little weird things too, like standing in the food line, besides somebody you haven't met yet, or
chicken.
meeting volunteers.
No, not Dorito chicken.
playing cards on the bus. Like I like switching over to the bus where most of the educators are, and they just have such a great time over there. And just seeing that, so healthy. A lot of little stuff. I miss the sandwiches at Scotty's in Little Rock, like stuff like that, man.
Yeah. Egg shots.
That's right.
Awesome. Genevieve, we have a question from Haley here. Will you have an open door for alumni again to visit during rehearsals this year in person or on campus? A lot of that's a little bit up in the air, but as of now, it's going to be a pretty closed environment especially when we're at IWU before we go on the road. We have a lot of protocols that I know things are getting a lot better and things are opening up, which is awesome with the vaccinations and everything here in the United States. But we are still planning on having a pretty closed bubble-like environment at the IWU campus. So, while we might have some specific opportunities where we are able to have a controlled environment with audiences, for the most part, we're going to be completely closed off at IWU. And except for, our hopefully pretty huge online live streaming type presence. And then when we get out on the road, obviously things will be a little less controlled, but that'll only be about a 10 to 14 day period. So, that part of it might not be quite the same as normal, but, we have to make sure we reach our ultimate goal of getting to all of our performances in Indianapolis. So that's our goal at this time. And I'm sure we'll post specific information about that as we get closer to the time. But my sense is that we're going to be as careful as we possibly can after everything that all the students and staff have invested into this. Awesome. We have a question here from Matt. I'm curious to know if the show design was influenced by the decision to not score shows. Mostly, will you use material that would be more beneficial once you are judged? So yeah, has the lack of judging, this is a non-competitive season, so has that kind of influenced the show design at all? I guess, Doug, this is a question for you.
Well, I want to say no. I mean, I can't speak for all of us, but I will. No, I think I want to say no. I mean, obviously we're in a competitive environment, so that's in your thought process. But I have to say, for us, like for most of us, for all of us on the design team, it is not the first consideration. I mean, we want to just make good music that is going to improve the players and challenge the players and entertain the players that are involved and challenge the teachers that are involved and entertain and challenge the audience as well. So those things are first in our mind. You know, I think part of the problem with the activity is that we all start to sound the same every 2 or 3 years, all the groups. And the reason for that is because people do design their shows and think, well, we got to do this double tonguing here because that's what the judges want and that's where we get credit, you know. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're playing ice castles, you're going to put a double tonguing feature in there somehow. You know what I mean? It can be completely inorganic and inappropriate. And to some degree, it's still rewarded in the activity. And that's a pet peeve of mine. That is part of the reason that a lot of the drum corps sound the same. So I want to say that, I mean, because I think we're more affected this year by it's a shorter schedule. We won't have as much time to change stuff on the road, which we love to do. Ask the brass guys here. I know they don't like that much. But the show will not, the show has had to evolve over the course of this winter instead of how much it might evolve in the summertime when we have a chance, you know, to really get our hands in there. And I think that's a good thing too. And I think that's something that I'm hoping as a design team that we learn from. It's kind of important to us that and I think we've been pretty successful with this the last few years, is we come out to the first show and put on a good show for those people too, because they paid a lot of money for their tickets. You know, there used to be this mentality in the old days where nothing mattered until Saturday night. You know, everything else was a dress rehearsal until Saturday night of finals week. I think that's absurd, an absurd way to think, because people, especially these days, pay a ton of money. I mean, a drum corps ticket costs more now than I paid to see Paul McCartney the first time I saw him. Like 3 times as much, which is crazy. And you know, you're paying, people are paying for a big spectacle, and it doesn't matter if it's just finals night. It should be every night your players are in front of an audience. They should be giving as much as they possibly can. And same with the design and same with the preparation. You know, you still see groups that come out and they don't have their show flags. It's like, what is that? You know, that's basically showing a complete lack of respect for the people in the stands early in the season. So I like to think we're thinking more in terms of how much time we have to deal with on the road than we are about, you know, somebody with a white belt and a green shirt putting a number down.
You know, something that's been interesting about the design process this year, because I'm sort of an outside observer to all, I attend all the design meetings and I'm there and I work with, like, can we buy this? You know, no. But, you know, and that kind of stuff.
When do we?
We're part of the team, but I'm not a musician or a designer myself, you know, so it's an interesting experience. But something that I think is neat about this production that kind of speaks to what Doug's talking about too is that it is something that we've been working on for much longer than usual. You know, this was the concept in essence for 2020 as well. And so, you know, I think that, you know, speaks to the question too. You know, it's not, we're not doing something totally different just because it's not judged. We're doing what we want to do, which is this.
Bob and Rick, you're the first like educational team people that we've had in one of these live streams. So I'm kind of curious to see how you both feel about a non-competitive season.
Well, I think the best part about this is, and especially how Jen talked a little earlier about some younger people that are coming around, is it's a great opportunity for us to just focus on the Bluecoats brass technique, so that when some sense of normalcy comes back around in 2022, we'll have a larger number of returning vets that are used to this performance environment, that are used to our brass technique program, so that we can continue to build upon the greatness that's been happening for the last many years with this brass program. So I think not having that added stress is actually a great thing, so that we can just focus on being the best we can be. and setting us up to be successful in the future.
Yeah, and I think for me, we've done a lot of work over the last year and a half talking about diversity and inclusion, both in the Bluecoats, but also just in the activity in general. And I think that this opens the door to some students that may not have had access to the Bluecoats in the past. We don't harp on the competitive side of the drum corps, but long story short, if you've never done this activity before, it's going to be a challenge for you to be able to do what we do. And this year, we're able to take the kids from an HBCU that may have never marched corps style before in their lives.
I think we lost Rick.
Yeah.
Give it a second here, see if it catches up. Okay.
That's a great screenshot.
Yeah.
Put that in the
I do think that this kind of segues really nicely. There's been a few questions in the comments here about, what advice do you have for people learning brass instruments and just learning in general? I think exactly what Rick was talking about. This kind of goes back to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely answer that because I'm a saxophone player. When I was in high school, I was a good saxophone player at a good high school in the U.S. And our school always hosted the Houston DCI show that used to be at Rice Stadium every year back in the 90s. And so I was introduced to drum corps, and I was like, I want to do that, but I can't do it on my saxophone. So as soon as I graduated high school, I borrowed a euphonium and a beginner band book from my high school. And 3 months later, I went to my first camp at the Cadets. Now, I don't know that you could necessarily do that anymore and get a spot, because back then it was more along the lines of you didn't get cut, you cut yourself. And as long as you kept showing up and paying your money, there's a really high percentage chance that you'll get a spot. And that's basically how I got it, because I was not a very good brass player, but I actually learned how to be a brass player through my time in drum corps. And it's just one of those, you just practice and keep practicing and show up and don't give up until somebody tells you to go away. And if somebody says you want to go somewhere and they're like, well, you shouldn't be here, but you should really go try marching here or somewhere else. They have a similar approach to brass technique. And you're like, oh, but they're not as good. That doesn't matter. You need to get the experience. There's no way that most people could go from woodwind to brass in 3 months and make a top 3 corps anymore. The odds of that are much lower now, but there's still plenty of opportunities of places to go learn, because there's a lot more kids that are getting involved in the drum corps activity than compared to, in the 90s when I marched. And, it's just keep working and don't give up and have high expectations and get as much advice and as much help as you can.
And get the sounds in your ears. It's amazing how many people over the years that I've auditioned, and you ask them, okay, what trumpet players do you listen to? And they go, huh? That's like, well, you got to get that sound in your head, man, if you're going to learn how to play it. So you have to develop that part of your musicianship as well.
Yeah.
Great. I think specifically for Bluecoats too, come out to an audition event just for the experience, or log on to Bluecoats School of the Arts and see what we have on there. But going to like any educational event we have, but even an audition, even if you're just going to learn or just to get feedback, if we're doing an online thing, that's so great, because you get feedback specifically from Bluecoats staff, specifically from the people who will be teaching you. So it's a really great way to grow.
Yeah.
We've had many woodwind players over the last few years, including last year, I believe. One of our mellophones was a sax player originally, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think your second instrument is always easier, because you're not learning theory and ear training and all that other stuff at the same time. You already know that stuff, so you're dealing with mechanics, fingers, embouchure. So there's no reason not to give it a shot. It's only going to improve you as a musician.
Yeah.
It's going to help.
17, 18, 19 range right now, I can't tell you how many people have made the Bluecoats when they're 20 or 21 after coming to their second, third, or fourth year of auditions. I mean, that's a real thing that happens, and people really, everyone really does try to help you get better and match you with a different group if it doesn't work out, and give you that feedback and experience that you need. I mean, that happens every single year. There are many people that have that experience.
Yeah, I would say, like Liz said, I mean, there's usually at least 10 to 15% of the people at that first camp or two that come solely for the experience. Yes, they'll quote unquote audition, but they know they have no intention of actually making it or anything. They just want to understand how it works, get used to the process, learn the technique, so they can come back afterwards in a year or two and know what to expect and know they can really get a spot then.
Welcome back, Rick.
Yeah, the great state of Connecticut decided that they were going to, I guess, turn my. I don't know what's going on. I'm back.
You went for a sandwich, didn't you?
No. Maybe after.
Awesome. I think that we are pretty much at the end here, so I will go through everybody, and if anybody has any last words that they want to end off with, we'll do that. Any words of wisdom or anything like that, and then we'll wrap up. We'll start with you, Rick, since you had your short goodbye.
Yeah, I may happen again. Come check out the Bluecoats this summer if you're willing. We have some shows scheduled all around the country. Here in the New England area, if you're here, the Bluecoats are going to be here, so it'll be a great opportunity for you guys, like Bob said, to hear that sound again. And with everything that's happened over the last year, we could all use some positivity through music and design, and just overall just being in the same place with one another and enjoying things together. So come check out the Bluecoats and have a good time this summer.
Awesome. Bob, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to finishing what we started in 2019 and putting a nice little bow on the Beatles.
And Doug?
For the people that are marching this year, I just want to remind them that somebody asked about, how are things going to be different with the competition aspect, and what the answer is: the work doesn't change. For the people that are jittery about becoming part of the group in the future, the best thing to do is go find somebody wearing the uniform and go ask them what it's like, and they love that. They will be happy to tell you about their experience, and just to speak to other people, especially if you're in the audience. They love that. Don't be shy. Come and say hi.
And Jen, will end with you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for checking this out, and we hope you all come see Lucy and support our students and staff and the drum corps activity in general. This is meant to be not competitive, but it's meant to be a celebration of drum corps and BCI, and sort of a segue back into hopefully what is a competitive marching band season in the fall. So I hope as many people as are able to experience it live or via streaming, so that we can share what we've been working on. Like Doug said, the work doesn't change. That applies to all of us administrators as well. All of this, we're working just as hard to organize everything, both at the Bluecoats and at the DCI level, to make this as cool as possible for both all the students and staff and all the fans. So come check it out.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks everybody who came in. If you are looking for any information again about the show, about our tour dates, a set list, any of that, you can find it all at bluecoats.com/Lucy. There's also some merch there you can get your hands on, so that's super exciting. I hope that you'll join us next week. We'll be doing another live stream again Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be talking with some percussion designer and some percussion educational team. So hope you'll join us for that as well. But thank you all for coming tonight, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Hey guys.
My son came home with a drawing and showed me this strange-looking woman flying around. I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's Lucy in the sky with diamonds." And I thought, that's beautiful. I immediately wrote a song about it.